All right, excellent. Well, I know a lot of people are here and excited, and they probably have a lot of questions. So, for everyone just joining us here, welcome very much. I'm Ken. I'm one of the rocket scientists here with Rocket Pool, and I get the pleasure of hosting the community calls. And this is kind of an exciting one because today we not only have Langers on the call, which is always a lot of fun, but we've got the two founders, Platin and Pasta Masta, here with RockSolid, which is a new protocol. It's a DeFi protocol that just launched, a day ago, 2 days ago here, that is now Rocket Pool's kind of integrated liquid vault, right? That provides one-click access to optimizing yield strategies for our LST holders, our rETH holders, right? And there's a lot of neat things about this, and I kind of wanted to just kick it off a little bit with just a few questions, and then really open it up to the group today to just kind of chat and have a lot of questions here. It's supposed to be an AMA session there. There's lots of good resources for this, but maybe to just kick it off, I wonder, Langers, if we could just turn to you, and then we'll turn it quickly over to the folks from RockSolid. But I wondered, the thing that kind of makes this kind of interesting is this is a higher level of DeFi integration, where RockSolid's launch was partially integrated into the Rocket Pool site. So I wondered maybe if you could talk a little bit about that and some of the genesis as to why a vault.
Yeah. So actually, I think we were talking the other day with the RockSolid guys, and I think it was almost a year ago where we had like first initial conversations about what some sort of integration might look like. And it kind of evolved over time. Like maybe they'll get into that. I'm not sure, but kind of evolved over time. And then but the vault idea came up kind of midway through that process, and it basically because at that point Saturn 0, I think, had been released, or was basically released. Nodeset was online. And everything went from being kind of like node operator bound, to being rETH demand bound. And so from that perspective, we really, and there was a big push within the community in terms of like the rETH growth incubator program, which had some really good programs that's kind of spun out of that. But essentially, rETH growth is our biggest kind of challenge at the moment in terms of growth. So we needed to kind of fill that gap, and then the RockSolid guys kind of went off, did their research, and basically there was the vault was kind of born. I guess I won't talk too much about their process. They can talk about how the genesis of it. But from a protocol perspective, that's the kind of like driver. The real driver is that we are rETH bound now, and so growth is going to be our growth dictated. It's going to be dictated over the next, particularly the next year, but definitely going especially with Saturn being released. rETH growth is more and more important. So our growth is going to be dictated by how much we can grow rETH, and that's where these guys come in, and that's where the vault comes in. There's a whole bunch of other, apart from rETH growth, there are a whole bunch of other benefits that the protocol gets from this as well. And I'll leave them to talk about the rest of that stuff, but there's the thing that where we're quite a neutral protocol in the sense that we don't have any we don't have any capital allocation. We can't capital allocate because we don't have any capital ourselves as a protocol. Whereas with the vault, that's possible, and I'll let them talk about the possibilities there. But yeah, so there's a whole heap of great benefits for the protocol.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent kind of introduction and kind of preamble to it. So maybe now let's turn and kind of welcome our guest here, Platin and Pasta. You want to maybe just introduce each of yourself, and one of you give just a short summary of what RockSolid is.
Sure, I'll start. Hi, Steve, Paladin on Discord. You introduce yourself, Ben, and then I'll give the intro.
Yeah, just quickly, I'm Ben, Pasta Master on Discord. I like pasta. Yeah, I'll let Steve just give a little sort of background on who we are and what we do.
Yeah, and I might just maybe just fill in a little bit of the genesis story real quick. There's one event that was like even before that, maybe even 2.5 years ago, was a Bankless episode where when Lido was getting close to 33%. And I remember the Bankless guy saying like, well, this is crypto, it's permissionless. If you want a better LST, like, world, like go build one. And that got me thinking a lot. And I was just getting involved with Rocket Pool then. And that was almost actually the first idea was like, can we use Rocket Pool, to somehow create a different type of LST that competes with Lido. And actually, I see Nick from NodeSet is here. It was using similar ideas to what NodeSet was. And the reason that would be helpful was because, like Langer said, Rocket Pool was node operator constrained, right? That was the thing that was crimping its growth. And so when you looked at like, how do we make Rocket Pool better? Like that was kind of the answer. But then the community, really rallied, and we went through the tokenomics work for Saturn, and all of a sudden that wasn't the problem at all. It was actually rETH demand. And so, we started thinking like, okay, like what actually drives rETH demand? And we're looking around, and, two things really stood out to us in terms of what was some of the differences between like Lido as an example and rETH. And one was utility and DeFi. Staked ETH was just better integrated. It was in more places. You just had more utility from it. And the other was more liquidity. Like just pools were deeper, and those things feed off each other, right? Like the more integrated, the more liquidity, the more integrated, etc. So in terms of like just that thought process that had been bubbling for a while of like how to keep Ethereum credibly neutral, like how to help Rocket Pool be remain a really strong part of Ethereum staking. We landed on vaults was the way, the best way that we as a team could contribute to that, because it gives you this focal point for DeFi. So rETH can be deposited, be pooled, and then used to help incentivize other protocols to integrate rETH. And we'll talk about like a bunch of these examples, but that, like Langer said, that the protocol itself doesn't have this huge pool of capital to say, hey, like here's 10 million rETH, like you should go create a pool. But with a vault, like that sort of power is there. So that was like the sort of a long part of the winding road. But to sort of take a step back and just kind of start from first principles. So like, what is RockSolid? It's a liquid vault platform, and a RockSolid vault is a place where you can deposit a digital asset, starting with rETH, and then us, in partnership with a professional strategy manager, they're called Tulipa Capital, deploy those funds to find the best risk-adjusted returns that we can find in DeFi. So sometimes that's leverage looping on mainnet, sometimes that's a new incentive campaign on a new L2, and sometimes that's us, or more likely Tulipa, negotiating new incentives with new chains to say, hey, if you integrate rETH, we will bring capital. And so, but you've got to pay. Right, so the depositors get the benefit of those deals. rETH gets the benefit of being integrated, and the new protocol gets the benefit of the liquidity to bootstrap their chain. So win, really. So that's the sort of the user experience. Deposit, funds get deployed, they grow, and then you withdraw eventually, hopefully never. And for the protocol, like Rocket Pool, it solves the problems Langers was talking about. It gives you this focal point where you can, say to people, here is the default way. You wanna just like hold this LHT, but you want to get more than the staking rewards. Here is a place to deposit it. And we make it, I think, super easy. Nick, you can ask Nick, who's on the call here, whether it was easy, but we make it super easy to integrate. And so you can keep that flow on Rocket Pool. So people know Rocket Pool, they trust Rocket Pool, like they don't have to leave in order to to get into the vault. And so that was a super important part of it. And yeah, maybe I'll stop there. There's a lot more we can talk about, but happy to let the room decide the direction.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing, and so maybe let's just open it up for questions. Anyone want to come off mute and ask a question to the folks?
I guess not really a question here, but super excited to see RockSolid vaults come into play. This is one thing I know me as a rETH user have been kind of like wanting is like more ways to earn more yield through your rETH, not just your rETH staking rate, but also like actual organic yield, but also able to get incentives through different protocols. So happy to like be able to like see more expansions and like also work alongside with them as we keep deploying incentives on new chains for Rocket Pool. Specifically, I like the OP chains. We have some OP we've been deploying, and on Ronin that we're providing really high incentives coming in soon, and gonna be able to offer some leverage looping. So very happy to see you guys involved in making things easier for everybody on the rETH leagues. I know this is something I've talked to a couple of rETH community members that wanted this to be able to put something in the ball and then automatically bridge and run these strategies for them.
Yeah. Well, I love to hear that you're hearing that there was a need for it. And yeah, like as strategies emerge, if we're not already deployed, feel free to send them our way and for evaluation. Like on that note, I'll give guys an example. Some folks in the chat might have seen it already, but yeah, as Tulipa has already, prior to launch, been talking to new protocols. One that came up is Hemi. If anyone hasn't heard of it, it's interesting. It's an L2, but it actually uses Bitcoin as part of its sort of finality gadget. So interesting protocol. Go take a look. But yeah, rETH wasn't in that protocol. Wasn't on the bridge. The team were talking about putting up an incentivized pool, and now it is. You can bridge rETH to Hemi, and soon there'll be a specifically incentivized pool to deposit rETH. And that is good for the vault, obviously, because that's rewards that depositors will earn. But like honestly, you can think of it. It's almost like we're the vanguard of an army. People can come behind us and take advantage of the fact that rETH is integrated and there's a pool. You don't have to be in the vault. If you want to, do all the work yourself and do all the monitoring yourself, you can. So again, it's this win-win, right? If you want the easy UX, use the vault. If not, well, you still benefit. I've been on a couple of these calls. They can be a bit quiet. Maybe I'll try and seed one. Kevster, I saw you're here. You had a feature request, and you have 3 of the team members on the call. So if you ever wanted a good audience to put in a feature request, here it is.
Yeah. So my problem was that if I get some Rock rETH, I cannot see how much I have on the Rocket Pool website. It just says my rETH is gone, and it doesn't really show that I now hold Rock rETH. So maybe something where you say like, hey, if you want to redeem your Rock rETH, or if you want to see how much it's worth, check this link or whatever, or a price or something.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I will commit to talking to the core team about it. Yeah, we did we did talk a little bit about it during the development process, which was Rocket Pool didn't want to, of course, like replicate the entire sort of portfolio management and withdraw and all of the flows of RockSolid. But yeah, maybe a like, hey, you've got rock.rETH, like go here to manage and redeem. So great suggestion.
Yeah, great suggestion, Kevster. I like that. One thing though, let me just interrupt here, just because it's been 15 minutes into the call, and for those that have joined here live, there's a POAP if you'd like to claim for it. The Rock rETH ticker actually kind of reminded me of it, but the POAP code is just the reverse of that. The POAP code for today is rETH-rock. So if you have the POAP Home app and you want a POAP for today's call, they're absolutely free. Just claim it. The POAP secret word is rETH, all lowercase rETH dash rock, ROCK. But yeah, keep talking. I got to go claim my POAP right now.
Ken, what's the best place to, like, what's the starting point for those? Like, is it the app, or can you do it on the website, or?
Yeah. The way I do it, and encourage other people to share as well too. I mean, there's an app. I have iOS, but I think it's an Android as well. It's just called POAP Home. It's kind of like an NFT display for all of it. And once you open it up, right, you link your Ethereum account address, and there's a little purple button on the bottom. It says Mint. And if you're at a conference, they've got like, GPS enabled minting or NFC minting. And the one we'll use here is a little secret word, and then you just type it in, and then it shows up.
Oh, there we go. Rock.reth.
Yeah,
minted.
The POAP claim word is rETH-rock.
Thank you. Thanks for organizing.
Yeah, but please, whoever next, come on and keep talking.
So a couple of new joiners. Any questions?
I promise we're really chill. We're not scary.
I guess I can do another. If you go to the RockSolid network website, there's like an all vaults option, and there is something grayed out saying coming soon. Is there like is it a new product for RockSolid, or is RockSolid like exclusive for Rocket Pool, or will you dabble in other protocols as well?
Let me take this one, Steve, because you've been doing a lot of talking, and then you can jump in. So the direct answer to that question is no, RockSolid's not exclusive to Rocket Pool, but this is our first and definitely our focus. Like, we want to see this vault really succeed. And when it says like coming soon, like, for example, there could be other iterations of rETH style vaults. And just to give you like a bit of a flavor of some of the conversations we've been having, I mean, a lot of this is confidential, but you've heard of probably these digital asset treasury companies that have these massive buckets of ETH that they're deploying. Some are staking, some aren't. Some hold LSTs, some don't. Or even just like liquid funds and different institutional people that have ETH or rETH. Like a model that we can do is build these kind of custom, maybe even private vaults for these types of institutions who have like specific needs. Whether that's around like sort of KYC, privacy, like different risk tolerance. We can only deploy into these types of DeFi strategies or whatever. So yeah, like there's some examples of like potential future vaults that we're talking to people about and may build, and there's a like awesome opportunity there to kind of tie in rETH into those as well, because it's obviously a trusted kind of blue chip asset that these institutions are comfortable with.
Good.
And I had kind of a similar question, which is, and maybe you've been chatting about this or it comes up, is like, I was thinking about it. If you're an LST holder, right, there's maybe 4 things that one could do with it, right? You can just hold it, right, hodl it, and be done. One is you could reuse it because it's liquid. You could use it in DeFi, right? And I think you made mention of the community maintain DeFi integrations or DeFi opportunities for rETH holders, right? I guess the new third option is we could just deposit it in the RockSolid vault, right? And then you and through your strategic investment firm, Tulupa, that you mentioned, you guys would determine the best strategy or make off-chain agreements for incentives and so forth, right? You want to talk just a little bit about like what you're looking to explore, or what type of investments the vault will do, and how does one, as a contributor to the vault, an LST depositor, how do I actually see what investments you guys have chosen to make?
Yeah, great question. So maybe a multi-part one. me start with like you did a good job, Ken, of like the layers almost. It's like you can always say like hold ETH, stake for rETH, right? Okay, I could deploy something myself. Then the next level is deploy to RockSolid and have strategy managers deploy that. Then actually there's a fourth, and we haven't exposed this in the product yet, but I think we will. There is a balancer pool now as well for rock.reth to rETH liquidity, and that's helpful for instant redemptions because you can go trade there. Like we only just launched a few days ago, so it's not super active yet. We'll see what the discount lands at, but I imagine it'll be very, very low because you can always redeem for the full rate in the 24 hours. But that's you can start to see that even when you deposit and then you have your rock.reth shares that grow as the backing assets grow, that even that then can have utility in DeFi. And at the moment, there's just one venue for it. But the sort of sophistication of DeFi that is possible in rETH, is increasing. So that is super cool. And then I'll just say as for someone who holds rETH and what can you do with it, the strategies that we're doing, you can do almost all of them yourself. It's most DeFi protocols are permissionless, right? You can bridge to another chain. You can deposit in incentivized pools, but you just have to do the work, right? Of managing and looking at funding rates, and there's a lot that goes on, but technically not prevented. But what you do miss out on is being able to take advantage of having capital pooled in one place, and us and Tulipa being able to negotiate preferred incentives for depositors. Now, can't promise anything specific, but you can see the dynamic when there's chains and protocols competing for capital in the form of LSTs, that when you have it, you can generate better terms. And so that's one thing that on your own you're not able to do, but in a vault you can.
And can I just jump in there for a sec, because this is a little kind of soapbox issue of mine. Was that I think being a naive and idealistic, believing in the ethos of decentralization and all those things, like kind of what's written on the label, as a retail kind of DeFi user, I believed all those things. And you see numbers go up, you see TVL go up on these protocols, and it's like, oh wow, there must be a lot of people using this product. That's really cool. It was only when we started working on RockSolid that, again, I say naively, I came to realize that a lot of that is off-chain backroom deals. It's you see protocols launch, you see wow, I can't believe they've got 500 million of TVL on launch day. Wow, people must love their product. It's no, there's a whale or a liquid fund, or I say bribe, that's an ungenerous term. They've paid incentives to people in order to park their liquidity on these protocols. So a lot of what you're seeing, I won't say it's fake, that's maybe a bit too harsh, but it's not organic retail usage. And as I said, I think in hindsight, I was probably naive to not realize that, but I personally only realized that once we started this company, we're starting to have these conversations ourselves. And everyone just asked the question, sure, I've got TVL, how much are you going to pay me for it? And that's just kind of what people do. And I think, as Lang has alluded to at the start, I mean, Rocket Pool isn't in a position to do that because it doesn't have this kind of, war chest of money that it can just spray around, or I kind of call it the money bazooka. A lot of these newer protocols that kind of raised in this free VC money kind of era, they have tens, hundreds of millions of dollars of treasury that they throw around in incentives in this way. I guess the reason why I've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent and talking about this is it kind of makes me feel icky, because it violates, I would say, these ostensible open access decentralized ideals that everyone talks about, but it is also the way that the game is played. And so what we're trying to do is kind of get Rocket Pool and rETH holders access to some of those incentives by having a bit of a money bazooka, if you want to put it that way, which is the rETH that's in the vault, to have these conversations with these protocols and say, hey, we've got 5 million, 10 million here. How much are you going to pay us for it? so we can sort of play the game that, you know, I'm sure EtherFi is playing that game. I'm sure, you know, Kelp is playing that game. We can sort of Rocket Pool can play that game as well. Sorry, bit of that's a personal issue of mine that gets me passionate.
Yeah. People love passion.
I can definitely back you up on that, in the sense that, you know, we've had so many conversations with different protocols, different chains, you know, lots of different players in this space, and it's pretty much, oh, so what we'd want is you to guarantee X amount of TVL or X amount of deposits of rETH, and like, we're a decentralized protocol. We can suggest, we can point people in that direction, but there is absolutely no way that we can commit funds to that. And that's where, like, the Vault and RockSolid kind of come into this play.
And I mean, I have to say, like, I think it's great that, like, you guys actually are really decentralized. Like, that is true for you guys. It's not this decentralization theater that you see everywhere else. You know, but yeah, I guess unfortunately that's one of the costs of decentralization, is that you don't have this centralized kind of money spigot to spray around. So, yeah.
Yep. Ken, I think there was a last part of your question, which was about the strategies. And like,
you see them.
Yeah, and how do you like, is there a group, the committee that looks at it? Do you just work with your outside partners to come up with a strategy? But, you know, so you start building this base of funds. How do you determine what to do with it?
Yeah, no, great question. And that, like, is one of the things we want to make clear, right? Is that unlike Rocket Pool, it's not a decentralized system. There is no, say, token-based voting, for example. Like, you could imagine a truly Rocket Pool, like, hardcore vault would be that, like, only RPL holders could, like, vote on a strategy, and only when it reaches a quorum, and blah blah. And you can imagine, like, that would be kind of super cool from a decentralization point of view, but much more difficult to move quickly and to negotiate, you know, off-chain things. So when you deposit in the vault, yeah, what you are depositing into is, you know, the expertise of, like, our partner Tulipa Capital, like ourselves, and like Lagoon, the smart contract provider, you know, to make good decisions on how to deploy this in DeFi. And that's like that's the reality. So, like, how it happens is yeah, we, like, Tulipa are constantly out there talking, like, looking at the market, monitoring positions, talking to new protocols. And when they see an opportunity, you know, they'll flesh it out a bit, they'll bring it to us, we'll discuss, like, okay, how much of an allocation would that be to a single L2, for example, or how much of an allocation would that be to a single protocol? And, like, we want to do things like keep a variety of positions on a variety of chains, on a variety of protocols. And yeah, it's a qualitative, you know, a qualitative and quantitative process, I would say. Yeah.
And just very tactically, like, how does a user or depositor view the positions on the RockSolid app? There is a there's the full list of the positions, their trailing APR, their contribution to the APR of the vault, and that's published every 2 weeks. And I guess you can see it live. You can see it live on chain anyway, right, Steve?
Yeah. So on that note, someone pointed out that there's two links to aggregators on the page. One to Zerion, one to DBank, and Zerion is just bad. It doesn't actually pick up all the positions. It looks a bit nicer in the UI, but DBank is way more accurate. So yeah, you can view positions in DBank, although again, they're not always perfect, and they do sometimes take a while to update. So yeah, it is a bit more TradFi-like in that sense, in that the real way is to see, when those reports are published, what the positions were over the past 2 weeks. But you can get a pretty good idea from, yeah, the past 2 week report plus what you see on DBank.
Hey, Stephen, quick question. does that 2-week cycle also include, like, is NAV struck every 2 weeks, or is NAV struck like every day?
NAV struck every day when at the same time redemptions are processed.
Is that done by a third-party provider or by Tulipa?
It's a 2-step, 2-party process. So Tulipa propose what the valuation is going to be. RockSolid verify that based on our view of all of the on-chain positions. If we're happy with it, then we both co-sign, and that's what updates the NAV. I will just point out though, Nick, because it's a very good question. The smart contracts, they do separate the roles. There is a separate wallet like address that can be the valuation proposer. That's something that would be cool. Like, there would be some cost, right? We'd have to, pay out of the vault fees a third party to do that third party valuation. But that would be kind of cool to have even another party, right? Not just the two. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
You bet.
So I had another question, but certainly others can chime in here. But I guess one of the questions I had is, so you'd mentioned, I think either in your interviews or perhaps conversations we've had over the past week here or whatever, right, that you had been developing this a little bit in stealth mode once it was kind of clear what the product market fit was with vaults here. But so now what? I mean, you've launched, right? It's working. Help me understand here. Help me understand kind of what status you are right now and what's going to happen in kind of the weeks and the months ahead here.
Let me take a stab at this, Steve, and you can go next. Yeah. So, I mean, literally what we're doing in the next week is me in 2 days, Steve, I think you in a day or two, we're jumping on a plane to Singapore to Token 2049, and we'll be talking about this. So we've got some kind of speaking slots. We're up on stage. Steve's actually up on stage on a reasonably high profile panel with Smokey the Bearer and one of the Monad co-founders. And yeah, we'll be talking about this vault. We'll be talking about Rocket Pool and rETH, and yeah, trying to drum up excitement about it. We want to, as I said, we want to see this vault succeed. We want to see more TVL in the vault. Our interests are kind of aligned there with the Rocket Pool protocol in that sense as well. And I guess one thing we haven't explicitly mentioned either is, it's implied, but we should say it explicitly, is the vault is denominated in rETH, and all deposits, we accept deposits in ETH, staked ETH, wrapped ETH, and ETH, that gets converted into rETH. So we're minting rETH and kind of generating rETH demand directly via kind of accepting deposits in the vault. So yeah, we're trying to grow this vault. We're trying to make it big. We're looking at other, liquid staking protocols like EtherFi or Lido, that kind of have similar products, and they're over 100 million in TVL, and we want to see this grow for the benefit of the Rocket Pool ecosystem to that. So yeah, that really is our focus. Yeah, and I guess product improvements, like some of the feature requests that we've heard on this call just today. Yeah, I mean, Steve, what else would you add to that?
I think from a Rocket Pool point of view, definitely grow the TVL, right? We literally just told people we exist yesterday. So there's a lot of activation of rETH to do out there. I think it's one of those assets that probably, there are a lot of whales that, got on board early and have held a long time, but haven't done, much more with it. So there's a potential to activate some of that. Yep. Like to see funds in there. I'd love a DAT either to just take an allocation to the vault itself, or if they have very specific needs, but to create an rETH based vault for a DAT, so they get the benefit of the decentralized base layer of rETH. But if the way they've pitched their business to public markets is that it's generating additional DeFi yield, then what better way? So yeah, grow the TVL, launch new vaults, ideally rETH ones, if we find the right customer. I'm just repeating everything you said, Ben, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the thing I'd pick up on what you said, Steve, was that, we went public in the Rocket Pool community yesterday, and we went sort of public on Twitter today. We've obviously been having conversations with, you know, rETH holders, ETH holders over like the previous months, and it's always hard having those conversations when it's like, oh, we're launching soon, like trust us. Now that we've launched, those conversations become a lot easier. So it's really kind of putting boots on the ground and trying to get out there and preach the word.
Someone was mentioned about. Oh, sorry, Nick.
Oh, I was just going to ask longer term. Let's just assume hundreds of millions in TVL, multi-manager or sticking with Tulipa, or to be
Great question.
determined.
There is no there's no technology dependency on Tulipa. They're a great partner. We like working with them.
You're using MPC through Fortify, is that right?
That's right.
So you can allocate based on Fortify policy engines.
Correct.
That's right. Any strategy manager can work. And yeah, if a protocol comes and says, like, we love the solution, but we want to bring our own strategy manager, that's no problem at all. Both you guys mentioned, it's the institutional wallet backend is Fortify. For the folks who haven't heard of it, it's kind of like it's just like Fireblocks. It's probably the number 2 in terms of assets managed after Fireblocks, which is the one of choice for many institutions. And the nice thing about Fireblocks too is it is actually integrated not just with every EVM chain, but also with some others as well, like Sui, Hype, Aptos, etc. So
you mean Fireblocks or
in terms of Fortify. Thanks for clarifying. Fortify.
Yep.
Yeah, so Fortify. So yeah, the ability to actually deploy assets to pretty custom strategies and pretty like specific opinions, is there. So yeah, happy to do multi-manager.
Nice. Yeah. All I hear is fantastic things about Fortify, and that it's far more responsive and applicable to DeFi than traditional Fireblock solution. So good choice.
Yeah, we looked at Fireblocks obviously and decided that Fortify was the better solution actually.
I was going to say about the institutions and DATs. So we're obviously speaking to those guys quite a lot at the moment, and trying to get them on board in terms of holding rETH and using rETH. But they have the same issues as any other rETH holder, and that is that they want to use DeFi, but they don't want to have to necessarily track everything. And they want to be able to kind of essentially understand their performance and that sort of thing. So in a way that's understandable to their accountants, and it's like really it's sometimes it's that simple. And so that's where RockSolid can step in and fill in some of those requirements for DATs and for institutions. There's definitely a demand there for kind of like easy use DeFi, easy use reporting for those entities.
Yeah, we're hearing the same. It's like, and for folks listening in, like, it's not obvious some of this stuff, but because DATs are public, like they get valued by like normal investment analysts, right? So they're like, okay, like how's Apple doing? How's Amazon doing? How's this DAT doing? And what's the like for like comparison on those things? It's like top line revenue, it's margins, like, is revenues growing, is margins expanding? And so then you're a DAT and it's like, okay, I'm getting staking revenue or I'm getting rewards from DeFi. Like, what's that? And the answer to that question almost determines like how you'll be viewed in public markets. And the SEC has opinions, like the DATs themselves have opinions, like there are, there's all that stuff going on. But to the extent that protocols, or ideally vaults, are able to take the asset in the way that the DAT wants to give it and deploy it in the way, and then provide the rewards back, like yeah, that's real value. You know, that we can add. So.
Let me ask just another question about the vault on there, right? As I was kind of looking at this and beginning to see how to transact and understand it better. But I noticed that the APY on it is significantly higher than just the base rETH APY, right? Mainly because of those additional yield opportunities. But any sense as to like what the long-term sustainable yield will be on this, and maybe a follow up to that, what is the short-term yield with some of the incentives and co-incentives that you're planning on running? You want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, let me take
Yeah.
that one. So, yeah, so I'll sort of answer that in three ways. The today APR is 12.5%. As part of the kind of incentives for early depositors, and we really wanted to reward the Rocket Pool community as well, like, which is why we kind of announced on the Rocket Pool Discord first, was to give folks earlier and earliest access to these incentives. We're adding the equivalent of $150,000 of rETH over this kind of 3-month incentive period, split into kind of weekly deposits, and that just goes automatically to like depositors in the vault. There's no sort of claiming, that just automatically accrues to your vault shares. That the kind of APY impact of that, if you can sort of, well, actually I did post a chart in the RockSolid Vault Discord channel, but if you can kind of imagine, like, the amount that's getting deposited is fixed. The smaller the amount of TVL that is in the vault, the greater your pro rata share of that incentive. So like the effective APY is higher, the less TVL there is in the vault, and the more TVL that joins, everyone gets a greater share, so that the APY impact of that incentive kind of scales down over time. And the benefit of that is that, yeah, it rewards people who are early. And so I'm talking in US dollar terms now, there's like, today's ETH price is around sort of 5 million in the vault. The APY impact of that incentive that we're putting in annualized is about an extra kind of 10 to 12%. That's on top of like the baseline DeFi strategies that are getting deployed. So the kind of, but we're putting that first incentive or the second incentive payment in today. So you'll see the impact of that hit the APY when we do the NAV update in a few hours. So the kind of like very, very short-term number, today's number is 12.5%. Once we add the incentives in, that number is going to go up. And also because it's a 7-day trailing APR, there's kind of a lag we've deployed DeFi strategies over the last kind of 24, 48 hours. As those strategies start to ramp up, you'll see the impact of that in the APR number as well. So yeah, I think like in the next week or two, the headline APR number you'll see on the vault will probably be somewhere between like 15 to 20%. But Ken, to answer your question, I'd say the long-term sustainable number when the incentives taper off, the vault's targeting like around 8 to 10% from these underlying DeFi strategies that we're deploying into. And that's a mix of leverage looping in rETH to benefit rETH and increase the TVL of rETH by a multiple of what's in the vault. We sort of do that for the protocol. You earn some returns on that, and it's better than staking returns, but it's less than 10% return. So that the sort of looping part of it does drag down the weighted average APR of the vault, but we kind of do that for the protocol to generate rETH demand. And then these other strategies are a little bit above 10%, and so weighted average, it's somewhere in the middle. Sorry, I talked a bit too much there. Does that make sense?
No, I'm just it's interesting, I guess, a little I don't want to say stunned, but it just contemplating it a little bit, because it is very interesting now to see something like this. And look, I very much, if somebody participates in the Rocket Pool community, the first kind of question you have to decide is, on what side do you want to participate on? Do you want to come in as a node operator, learn technical skills, invest in computer hardware, maintain responsibility to upkeep the node, and provide service uptime and efficiency ratings and that sort of stuff, right? And as a benefit for that, you earned a commission, and that was always the marketing point for Rocket Pool node operators, right? Is although we support solo staking, on its principles and so forth. But, if you wanted to earn more, come join Rocket Pool as a node operator and, be a carpool driver and, stake other people's ETH and earn a commission on it, right? But it's interesting now hearing just the long-term sustainability yields. It kind of questions, well, you actually might make more coming in on the other side, and might be better to be an LETH holder, So it it does cause one to kind of rethink, maybe I should diversify or come in on the other side of the RE solution. So it's very interesting to hear that long term you think those yields could be sustainable in there.
Why not have both?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to need more ETH. This is what I'm going to need, right? But a follow-up question, Dr. Doofus is asking in trading. He's without a mic and can't come on, but maybe in the extent of those APIs, what are your plans for marketing and push, right? I mean, I know you're going to token here and and do it, but like how do you get the word out on this about that additional yield that our ethers can earn?
I'll be quick this time, and then you can jump in, Steve. In the short term, Ken, as you said, we're getting out there. We're a token. We're going to Dev Connect in Argentina a month later. It's us meeting LPs, meeting whales, meeting funds, and just that's sort of like hand-to-hand combat, for want of a better word. I think like organic sort of awareness within the rETH community, I think will really help as well. And I think like the core team and the community, and like I think we'll have a good role to play there as well. Like we should do more of these AMAs. We should, do some Twitter spaces and stuff like that, like Mav referred to. So I think it's a combination of all those things. And I'm just hoping as people sort of become aware of it, the word kind of gets out as well.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts. I think this is day one, right, of building our community within the rETH community, and go from there. Like we have, like you saw, as we expand the product, right? Like, we're able to get coverage in the block, for example. The block's not going to cover every product release, but what I mean is like, we've got a kind of a, what's the word? We've got the ability to, and to like, we know how to get attention when there's things that are attention worthy, and so it's really a matter of, keep improving the product, like listening to feedback, like talking to depositors, and like, just doing all of the things.
Node set's done well on TVL. Nick, do you want to tell us your secret? I'm joking. You don't have to answer.
Well, with the massive leverage on wines recently, we got absolutely smacked on that. So all I can say is don't get too hyperlooped in some of the positions.
Yeah, market conditions can change, but I guess it is, one thing to the previous point, and maybe Lingers, you can comment on this, is, I'm still just kind of grasping what this new integration with RockSolid kind of unlocks for the rETH holders, right? Not only earning the additional yield, kind of getting a funds manager on there. I'm kind of equating it to traditional finance, like an ETF or an investment thing, where I'll get some annual statement or quarterly statement, and I'll see what what the fund is buying, and then but I know that, hey, I can just join the fund and people actively manage the DeFi investments or the strategies to earn the returns on the rETH, right? And I still maintain my position in rETH, and gain the benefits from either Ethereum, the token price increase, or the additional yield from staking, right? So I can see why these are very, very attractive in there. But I also now I'm starting to realize a little bit about maybe the integrations or the other unlocks it has in business development, right? And I'm thinking all the times that Grant has been interacting with protocols, and because, as I think maybe what you mentioned was, hey, Rocket Pool is really like a DAO. I mean, it's funny, we struggle so much with what does the PDAO do? What do the two management committees do? How do we interact with the team? And sometimes we think, oh, the team's, gone too far, and that's really part of the PDAO. And sometimes we're like, well, we need the team to do more and be more nimble. But this really unlocks another kind of advantage, that there is this sort of, I'll say quasi TradFi business development integration with Rocket Pool, that if they needed liquidity or rETH resources or integrations, there's kind of another set of two individuals that can go to get that type of business development. Am I incorrect in thinking about that, or?
Can I just address one thing? Because I've been reported, your comparison to TradFi, Ken, I think is like, logically the model is similar, right? It's like I park my assets here and someone does something. Very big differences. TradFi, comes with regulators, contracts, legal claims, etc. Crypto doesn't. So people should size their exposure appropriately. But the model that you describe, yes, like there's a lot of parallels. I'll just the way I think about it, I think it's similar to what you're saying, is like the power of Rocket Pool is the decentralization, but that doesn't help you move fast. And so, like, what I hope this does is let the protocol focus on being the strongest base layer, the best stake distributed LST for Ethereum. And yeah, we can help with the moving fast and taking advantage of opportunities like as they arise with a different set of trust assumptions, but that have trade-offs. Langers, I think you were going to jump in.
Sorry, guys. Just one last question. Speaking of the regulatory, conundrum out there, as of now, it seems like many protocols out there, U.S. users are barred from accessing the website unless you're using VPN. Is there any long-term? Sorry, there's a baby screaming. Any long-term view into when those regulatory hurdles may disappear?
Yeah, my take is it's obviously a much more crypto-friendly administration that's in the White House. So like it just feels way less risky than it did, 12 months ago. But still, our advice was that still crypto is an area of exploration. Like vaults are an area within that. There aren't clear specific guidelines. So best not to serve US customers, at least at the time of launch. So yeah, we are restricted in the US. Directionally, it seems good in terms of like regulators' approach to this stuff, but as of now, yeah, it's still blocked in the US. Ben, do you want to add anything to or Langers?
I mean, I've definitely been surprised how fast things are moving in the US. Liquid staking up until 3 months ago was probably illegal. I don't know. So it is moving very, very fast. So I'd see that changing quite quickly, but it's kind of up to the whims of the SEC and that sort of thing.
I have a question. When you are negotiating new deals with protocols or layer 2s or whatever, aren't you worried that those new protocols or chains can also fail? Like, how are you sure that our funds are safe? Do you have like a team for that? And then as a side question, if you make some deal, but then the next day like a way better deal shows up, do you just move everything over, or like how do these layer 2s maintain their liquidity? Like, do they just pay more, or how does it work behind the scenes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Happy to answer that. So yeah, I guess the first one on what happens if a protocol that we're deploying into fails. So yeah, first thing I'd say is DeFi is risky. There are risks in this product. We have a comprehensive risk disclosure in our terms of service, so I read that. But the way that we sort of mitigate the risks that you're describing there's a couple. One, we limit exposure to any particular position. Right now, if you look at our sort of strategy allocations, it's a max of 20% in any one kind of chain or set of strategies. So yeah, even in the absolute worst case scenario where all funds were lost, it would be in a specific strategy, it would be 20% of the total TVL of the vault that would be lost. So that's one mitigation. The other is we're not just deploying into random new chains, right? Like the ones that we're deployed into right now, Linnea, you know, that's obviously a tier 1 L2, you know, built by consensus and has, you know, hundreds, billions of millions of TVL in there already. And we're taking that approach to all of these. It's like, how much TVL is in there already? How battle tested is it? How long has it been around for? You know, it's a lot of this is subjective and qualitative, as Steve said, but we're not YOLOing into the latest like 1000% APY farm on Fartcoin on this new chain. It's a different sort of approach. Steve, you look like you're about to
the bridge.
say something.
No, I was just going to say, and like, yeah, you like, it's like, is the bridge high quality is almost the first step in that. Sorry, keep going.
Yep. So that was, I think, your first question. The second question around, what do we do? Yeah, if a better incentive comes up. Yeah. So I mean, every deal is different. The deals are just like, hey, we're going to set up this pool, and anyone in the pool who gets the incentive who's in the pool can get the incentive, and we would be the one that would be getting that as well. But it's kind of, we've provided that initial firepower to sort of add those incentives in the first place. In that sort of situation, there's flexibility to come and go as you want. Some deals are there's like off-chain kind of negotiations where it's like, you know, you must keep the TVL here for X number of weeks or X number of months in order to get Y incentive. And, you know, we would assess that, Tulipa would assess that against the other sort of deals that are out there. And so some might be sort of committed like that. Yeah, or others might let you sort of come and go as you please. Yeah, so it really is like kind of deal dependent. Does that answer your question?
I'll just add one more to it. We don't do, like, this is something just, it's again qualitative. You can't like look at this. It's not implemented in the smart contract, but we don't do like protocol enforced lockups, right? So you know, there are things where it's like, if you deposit and you stay for 3 months, then you get the incentive. Now, if something like bad happened in the market and like there were a lot of redemptions, people needed, you know, ETH, and we need to unwind the strategy, well, if we had to, you know, we can. The incentive, you know, you'd get a lower APR on that particular allocation, but we don't do these like ones where you literally have the funds locked up. So that's one thing. In terms of, yeah, you were like, oh, but what if there's just a better deal? I mean, yeah, you could assess, but there's also things like there's a you know, like a looped position on Aave, right? So it's like maybe you unwind some of that to deploy to the new one. It's active, right? And that's some of the benefit that Tulipa brings. They're able to, you know, assess those trade-offs.
I had kind of a question as well too. You had mentioned, you know, kind of further conversations with it, and you know, I know you guys have a Discord, but one thing, and I might have missed it if it was in the announcement, but there's a new channel here in the Rocket Pool server, right? That talked about integrations for it. Where should people go if they have questions or they want to like continue this conversation after this AMA ends? Like, do we go to your Discord? Do we go to that channel in the Rocket Pool Discord? Where should we go?
Yeah, I think Rocket Poolers should go to the RockSolid channel in the Rocket Pool Discord. That's I think, like, that's where the community is, right? The community for the rETH vault is the Rocket Pool one, and that's where we are. So yeah, I would say there. We just like launched the Discord. That's been a thing. I think we need to enlist Cron's services immediately. It was tweets went out.
Yeah,
Thousands of like, hi, can I offer you support?
Yeah, this is maybe sharing too much much. But yeah, I sort of set up a Discord because I guess that's what you're supposed to do: set up a Discord, and then was immediately whacked in the face with, oh shit, we should we need cron. So anyway, I think the answer to you, didn't know what I was signing up for. The answer to you, I was a Discord moderator for the last 24 hours. But I think the specific answer to your question, Ken, is I think folks stay in the Rocket Pool channel. We're both there. Tag us there. Happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Yeah, perfect. And then just in general, is there, as people are doing their own research and beginning to kind of understand what this integration is and what features it unlocks, what maybe the risks are, but where should somebody go to do further research of their own?
Yeah, check out our docs, docs.rocksolid.network. That's the starting point. Smart contracts are obviously on chain, so you can look at the code. Just ping us at us if you've got any questions. Happy to answer.
Yeah, the audits are linked there too, Ken. We didn't write the smart contracts from scratch. It's an existing implementation of vaults that has, I think 150 million TVL as of today. So that'll be something folks, will enjoy checking out. But that's all linked. And the terms, there are terms linked, the boring legal ones. But if you really want to understand the risks, we really, tried to enumerate everything we could think of there.
Yeah, and then I think you mentioned that besides token, and I've heard lots of things about token. I've never had the opportunity to go, but that seems like an excellent one to kind of coincide with your launch. It certainly is kind of the big mecca of all chains, all tokens together. But you also mentioned that you're going to DevConnect in Buenos Aires. Are you going to do any kind of meetup or try to coordinate the meetup with the Rocket Pool community? Any thoughts about what you're going to do down there in Buenos Aires?
Yeah, we haven't organized it yet. I haven't all my thoughts been on this launch, but we should definitely do a meetup there. We will do a meetup there. We've got a couple of speaking slots there. I think Steve is speaking at Staking Summit. It's maybe another one. But actually, it's a good reminder, Ken. I was meaning to put out just a general invitation. If anyone's from the Rocket Pool community is going to be in Singapore for token, we can put on a little drinks or a coffee thing or something. It'd be good to catch up.
At DevConnect, we should have steak sandwiches, spelt steak, but with Argentinian steak. That's the event right there.
As a meat eater, I very much like that. I've only heard legendary things about Argentinian beef.
Ken loves the steak. You sold him.
Yeah. Just don't have Gary Genzer playing in the background spelling it out. But go ahead, Linus. Yeah.
In the marketing sort of lane. So as part of the kind of Saturn launch, we're talking with the GMC, or we put a GMC proposal together, but with the team also kind of putting money into doing a marketing campaign around Saturn. So it will be essentially focused on rETH, because as we said before, rETH demand is going to be our growth limiter. So that's where we need to kind of focus. So it'll be around the kind of Saturn launch, but it will be focused on rETH. And so that's where these guys do play in as well. So we'll probably we will include them in that kind of campaign, because it augments the unique selling point of Rocket Pool as well. So that should work out quite well. I think we'll have a good offering.
That's awesome. I wanted to mention we are gonna. Sorry, I'm getting a go. Yeah, we'll also put in a GMC application to. I think it's okay to say this. Yeah, it'd be great to have Rocket Pool RPL rewards in the vault. right? That would be like a cool way to get new folks, like so people who've come outside of Rocket Pool, maybe just chasing the incentives, to then all of a sudden be RPL holders and be like, oh, what's this about? And then, you know, learn about the whole other side, as you mentioned, Ken, of Rocket Pool. So we haven't even written it yet, a bit busy, but yeah, we'll that would be another little piece of the like raising visibility of Rocket Pool and of the RockSolid rETH vault.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent idea, Paladin. And I actually got to say, I saw it earlier when you were on the Rocket Fuel episode. I love your little neon sign in the back, and I think that is kind of embodies what the GMC and I think many in the community are thinking, is that all of Rocket Pool's efforts, marketing, messaging, communications, business development, it all has to be about just producing more and more rETH. That's the product that the protocol produces, and the only way for the protocol to grow is really that way. We really feel with the launch of Saturn 1 and the introduction of mega pools and the better efficiencies and the lower bonding curve at 4 ETH mega pools, right? That the node operator side has basically been solved, right? There's plenty of node operators, plenty of capacity within Rocket Pool, especially after Saturn 1, and really the big hurdle is just rETH demand. And I do think it is so interesting to see how, something like RockSolid and the vaults can work, very synergistically with Rocket Pool and just continue to create that flywheel effect and produce more and more rETH. So I loved your little neon sign. You gotta sell those on your website.
Maybe bring some to DevConnect.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any things that I just want to kind of pause here as we're getting close to the hour here, or maybe a little bit over the hour, but any questions from anybody in the community? This is kind of like your last chance during the AMA here. I'm sure you'll find the guys here in the channel. They've got their own channel in Rocket Pool, which is awesome. But any last questions, either from the community or from any of our guests here? All right, I don't think I'm hearing any of it, although the video might have frozen. Either that or Lingers is just standing really still there in the office. But yeah, I don't think I'm hearing anything. So with that, maybe we'll kind of bring the official recording to a close here. Any last words from Paladin or from Lingers?
I'll start. Really appreciate the collaboration with Langers, Nick, Darcius, all of the core team. It's really been awesome. I think it's going to be great. It's already great. Thanks for having us, Ken, today. And yeah, I've been in this community a bit over 2.5 years, and I've really loved it. And that's why I kind of wanted to build in the space. That's how I got Ben excited about the space. So yeah, really just very grateful, enjoying the journey, and looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I mean, from our part, likewise. I mean, the RockSolid team have been fantastic to work with. They've been extremely professional, and they've achieved a lot over the time that we've been working with them. I think the future is very, very bright. I think RockSolid augments Rocket Pool really well. And yeah, I can't wait to see how it grows.
And Pasta Masta, any last thoughts from you?
Let's echo what was already said. Really looking forward to it.
All right. And Mav, I don't know if you're still with us or if you're having fun in Korean Blockchain Week here, but any last things for the community about future calls coming up, or any messages you want to share before we stop the recording for those listening to it on the podcast and the YouTube? Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks, Mav. Yeah. Well, I wish everyone kind of a good day here. We'll stop the recording, and folks are more than welcome to kind of hang out in the channel and chat here, and hopefully we'll hear a little bit of alpha that maybe they'll share once we stop the recording. So, all right.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Ken.
Cheers,
We got to
everybody.
run. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers,
See ya.
Ken.
Bye.